Good morning, developers. If you are new to the channel, my name is Rob, and it is JavaScript Tuesday, the day that we look at the language itself, and we've been going through the updates to ECMAScript or JavaScript since ES6. And if you need a little more background on the relationship between ECMAScript and JavaScript, I'll put a couple links in the description. But today we are going to look at promise.any, and this comes to us from ES12 or ECMAScript 2021. If you look over on the left-hand side here, I've got the docs open from MDN. Most of these were released with ES6 when promises first came out. So promise.all, promise catch, race, reject, resolve, and then. Those were all part of ES6. We already covered, finally, that was ECMAScript 2018 or ES9. The most recent video was all settled. That was ES11 or ECMAScript 2020. Today was that following year. Down at the bottom, at least as of the making of this video, the only other one is with resolvers, and that's part of ECMAScript 2023 or ES14. So lots of good stuff continuing to build on the wonderful thing that is promises in JavaScript that allows it to be powerful and strong, do its thing, its JavaScript way, but make things a lot more sensible to us as humans and easier to read. I will link those other two videos in the description if you want to go back and check them out. But let's take a look at the docs quick. The promise.any static method takes an iterable of promises as input. So this is just like all and just like race. We're going to hand it an array of promises. It is going to return a single promise. This return promise will fulfill with any of the input promises fulfills with the first fulfillment value. Okay, so the answer is kind of already right here how they're different. The return promise fulfills when any of the input promises fulfills. So it's the same as race in that it's going to give us the first fulfillment value, but race will work if it settles. So that means if it rejects or fulfills. In the case of any, it's only going to give the first fulfilled value. It works the same as .all. .all is only interested in fulfill, doesn't care about settled. Reject isn't going to change it, but it is going to return all of them. So any is that hybrid where it is going to look for fulfills, like promise.all, but it is only going to look for the first one, like race. It will reject when all of the input promises reject with an aggregate error, which is another new thing, containing an array of rejection reasons. If we go down, you can see here the syntax. We use the promise constructor .any, and we hand it the array of promises. The description kind of breaks this down. It's one of the many promise concurrency methods. We kind of looked at those. But it is useful for returning the first promise that fulfills. Race is going to say the same thing. It's just going to be for the first promise that settles. It will short circuit after the promise fulfills, so the other promises are no longer going to be relevant. It draws the same contrast we just did. Unlike promise.all, which takes an array of fulfillment values, we only get one, and that's going to be useful if we just need one to fulfill. Down below with race, this is going to get the first settled value, which is going to include rejection. So that is really the difference. Over to the code editor, a real quick example. I pulled this pretty much from all settled. I've got a style tag with a little bit of styling to give us some green buttons. I have 3 different green buttons, B1, B2, and B3. And then the script tag, I've got a wrapper function called run. Run gets called, and then start timer here, this gets called by passing B1, B2, and B3. So we're going to pass the IDs of all 3 buttons. Each time through, we're going to make a new promise. And that promise is going to immediately run set timeout. After 3 seconds, it's going to reject. We're also going to add a click listener. And the click listener is going to clear out this timer, so this reject won't happen. And it will resolve. So all 3 of those are stuck inside of this iterable, our array of promises. And so if we do promise.all and I hand it our timer promises, I can put at the front here, const, we'll do resp equals, and we will do await, and I will console.log resp. Now, this isn't going to quite work because if all of them resolve, then we're okay. But if any of them don't, we're going to have an error that we would have to have a try catch around if we used await. You will see what I mean. Let me refresh. I'm not going to do anything. And we got our error. It caught. If I refresh and I click on all 3 of them, that kicks back line 36. It gives us all 3 resolve values. So right here, resp, This thing is the result of this promise. It's an array of all three resolves. I am going to comment this out because for race, we're going to need a dot then, just because we'll have to handle our catch. So I'll put in here dot race. We'll do our dot then. We'll call what we got back R, and I will console.log R, comma, resolved. And then right at the bottom there, I will do a catch, and we will do R, console.log R, comma, rejected. So if we run this, this is going to be the other side. I won't click on any of them. We get one rejected. So the first thing that happens is B1 timer expires line 19. The race immediately runs because something settled. If I refresh and I click on this, we immediately got that same line, line 39, a different line, I guess, because it's in the then, but race handles that there. If we come back over, and I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to drop down at the bottom here, instead of race, we will do any. This is our new one. Refresh. I click on this. We got resolve. Same behavior as race. The difference is if I refresh and I don't click on anything, we get the aggregate at the very end. Instead of back up here with race, it happened right after the first one rejected. Okay, so let's make a couple notes here. All takes an array of promises and all must fulfill, and it will return the value of all promise resolutions or whatever. So that's how all works. Race also takes an array of promises, but short circuits when any promise, resolve, or rejects. What any is doing is exactly the same thing as what race does, except instead of rejects, it is going to be when any promise resolves. It does the same thing as this one, as all, it just does the first one. So what are some use cases for this? Let's make a note here, use case. I have used it before when I needed some redundancy. So I was making an API request, and it might not succeed quickly, or it might just simply reject. And so I made it a couple different times to different locations, and whichever one fulfills, that's the only one I care about. If the first one rejects, the second one rejects, and the third one fulfills, any will be the perfect use case there because it will do exactly what I need it to. The other thing would be we need speed, and we don't care about rejects. So again, maybe you're going to make a bunch of requests and they're all going to fulfill, but you don't know which server is going to be the fastest. So get me the first one. If one of them happens to reject, just ignore that. We just need the fastest one. Those are common use cases. Race, it's always kind of hard to find a good one for race. I'll throw it up here though anyway. Use case, reject on set timeout, so that if maybe you've got a fetch, takes too long, you can stop, otherwise return the data. So that might be a use case here where you do care about the reject. You're going to have a set timeout, and it's going to stop the whole process. If it takes more than 5 seconds, we're going to do something else. Down here, I want the data, and somebody's going to give it to me, or we're going to have like a full-blown every single promise will reject. Okay, that covers us for promise.any. They have a few more examples in the documentation here. It shows how the aggregate error works. This is another thing, as I said, is new. We'll look at this potentially in another video, but it's pretty straightforward and is exactly what it sounds like. It is an error of a whole bunch of errors. So in this case, we've got a bunch of promises. All of them failed, so we need to be able to provide all of the errors in one single error. They give an example here of displaying the first image that loads using the DOM, which is kind of nice. Down here, again, compatibility, very good support across all browsers. Go use any, write promises, write JavaScript. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.